And having been found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, death even of a stake. That is the image we're transforming into. Can you empty yourself? Oh, but I don't like that. Well, that's not an empty vessel right there. That's a vessel full of itself, not emptied itself. But I don't want to do that. Well, I don't like this, and I don't like that. And I have a different thought about how you do services, or how you do this, or how you do that. Or, by the way, why do we spend so much time doing this? Or, well, who made you boss? Empty yourself. Be a servant. Fit into the structure of Elohim. But he emptied himself. By the way, when you start doing the me stuff, guess what you're doing? You're regarding equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped. Because you are now becoming the God in your own head, in your own life. You are Elohim. You're jumping into a seat you do not have authority to sit in. Be careful with that. That's why he says is, look, stop grasping for that authority. Humble yourself, empty yourself, become a servant, and then he says to become obedient unto death. Obedient unto death, you struggle to be obedient unto your mother as long as she doesn't get mad at you, your brother as long as he doesn't get mad at you. You know, you'll do things as long as you don't have a problem in all these other areas. No, he says obedient unto death. If you miss that family reunion, wedding, funeral, whatever, you're not going to die. Some relationships might, but you're not going to die. So that's not obedient unto death. That's less than obedience unto death. And you're supposed to be obedient unto the highest level, which is obedient unto death. You're struggling with these easier levels. Obedient unto, I might lose a relationship with somebody. I may lose my job. You struggle with obedience unto those situations. Obedience unto death means I'm going to be obedient even if it kills me. Even if I have to pay the ultimate price, I'm going to be obedient. By the way, that doesn't mean it will be easy. It doesn't mean you won't have tears. It doesn't mean you won't struggle. It doesn't mean that you won't have pain and suffering. Did Yeshua have all that? Absolutely. More than you'll ever know. More than you could ever experience. He said, and having been found in a fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, death even of a stake. By the way, why did he say death even of a stake? David said it because it's the most shameful and humiliating death. See, some of you are afraid that someone will do something to you that it'll look shameful, or they'll try to shame you or humiliate you or embarrass you. And you don't want to be obedient because after all, there may be some, according to the world standards, shame. Remember, shaming and that kind of stuff is in the eye of the beholder. It's the cultural standard. It's the people standard. Yahweh has his own standard of what's shameful and what's honoring. So he says, even in the societal understanding of shaming and humility, and embarrassing and everything else that they would do, he was willing to die on that stake. Because that is the most shaming and embarrassing way to go. It was meant to embarrass you and your whole family. Look at them. He represents that family and their whole generation, and he's up there on that stake. So he says, look, he was willing to humble himself and became obedient unto even the death of on a stake. Elohim, therefore, because he's willing to do all these things, therefore, and by the way, we are in the same thing. We are living this life to show that we're transforming into his image, willing to take this onto death so we can get the therefore. Therefore, he has highly exalted him and given him the name which is above every name, the reputation above every reputation, the authority above all authorities, that at the authority, the name, and the reputation of Yeshua, every knee should bow, of those in heaven and on the earth, and of those under the earth, and every tongue should confess that Yeshua Messiah is master, to the esteem of the Elohim the Father, of Elohim the Father. This is part of the critical nature of all of this. But the problem is, do you have it in you? Do you have the heart Not just the will. Will is a lot of talk in my point. You have to have the will also, but you have the heart to commit unto death. See, why was David like a man like unto Yahweh's own heart? Because he had the heart for it. He showed it when he went up against Goliath. He showed it how he handled when he got called out for what happened with Bathsheba. He had the heart to be obedient unto death. It said, I have sinned and I deserve. See, he never made excuses. He said, I have sinned and I deserve whatever it is. I earned it, I deserve it. No excuses. When did you ever see David making excuses? Nope, he said, I'm that man, I get it.